Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of ECH Postgame Live. It's RJ here starting you off. Dylan has gone down to talk to the players and to Coach Dan, so we'll get him in a little bit. Tough loss in this one. The Kraken's 4-game win streak is snapped. 2-0 loss to the New York Rangers. They get shut out. I think as far as an overall message on this game, I was actually pretty impressed and pleasantly surprised with the effort from the Kraken, but they just ran into a better team who I thought played a pretty good game, and they just could not break through in this one to score a goal. You get the first Rangers goal on a fantastic play by Panarin. Kraken still in it at that point, and then you have that second goal from the Rangers, and that one was kind of a backbreaker, and we can get into that a little bit more. But let's just jump right here into chat. And yes, Christian with RJ with the beam. Yes, it's me here with the beam. Oh, beam outside. There we go. But see, I'm not used to this. Yep, I am here starting things off. And so we'll start off with chat here. Jessica, actually, we have a super chat here from Kraken fan. Why does it feel like Gru gets the scheduled losses? Are they padding Joey's stats on purpose? I think, look, this question was asked a few games ago, actually, with how would you handle the goalies? We talked about it on Postgame Live. How would you handle the goalies in this back-to-back situation? And I was in support of what the Kraken did end up doing, which is you go with Joey Daccord for the Islanders, you go with Grubauer for this game, because if we're just being realistic about what this Kraken team is and what they're capable of, I think the Islanders game, you have a chance. And you have a chance to get those 2 points. And I think you need your very best goalie for that game. And Joey's going to give you a shot at those 2 points. This one just felt like a scheduled loss. And if that was going to be the case, and look, no matter which goalie was in net, if the Kraken were going to score 0 goals, they were going to lose this game. And so you might as well give that to your goalie who's not quite as good or isn't the starter. I think we're kind of at that point with this team. I don't think it's necessarily padding Joey's stats or hanging Grubauer out to dry. It's just being realistic about the points that you can acquire and being smart about the situation. I mean, this is what I thought the Kraken should do for precisely this reason, because I feel like Joey made the difference in that Islanders game, and I don't think he would have made the difference in this one because you end up getting shut out. So that's kind of how I see it with the goalie situation. And I'm sure Gru will get some easier opponents as this goes on. This was a really tough spot in the back-to-back because this was so much tougher of a matchup. But, it is what it is. And then Jessica pointing out, yeah, no goal support for Gru. It's tough, right? I mean, when you don't get any goal support, you're not going to win games. This continues a trend with the Kraken. But this one, I think it's kind of obvious why. I mean, they were just actually facing a good opponent for once in a 5-game stretch, and that was the result. It was just hard to break through. I will say Jonathan Quick, I thought, had a fantastic game for the Rangers. I guess he's been on fire recently. If I saw his stats this season, and he's been excellent. And I think this is probably going to be my last time to see him in person, I would imagine, before he retires. So, of course, he finishes that off with a shutout. I've seen plenty of good Jonathan Quick games in person. B, well, the win streak was nice while it lasted. It was really nice, and it was necessary, too, for them to get those points in those easier games. And look, this one's just going to be a tough one to ever get a point from in this situation. Second half of a back-to-back against a really good team. But the important part is that they continue to take care of business against those bad teams, and they've got plenty of games coming up against bad teams. You've got Nashville, LA is looking okay, but then you've got Anaheim twice and San Jose twice. It's got to go back to what we've seen before, which is just finding a way to get those 2 points out of those weak opponents. Jessica Bjorky looked out-muscled again. Yeah, there were some moments, I think, in this one where he did get out-muscled. I mean, the strength thing has never really been his game, but it's just these last couple games, he's been in some spots that I think have been unfortunate for him. I was really rooting for him when he had that one on the stretch pass where he's kind of cherry-picking a little bit, got a good shot on Quick, but wasn't able to beat him. Bryce, at least we tried. Yeah, I think the effort was certainly there in this one. I don't think you can question the Kraken's effort at all. They just came up against a better team and fell short. Zoe, a scheduled loss, but a shutout always hurts. Yeah, it's tough that they weren't able to get a single one in the back of the net. Credit to Jonathan Quick, because the Kraken actually did have some pretty good chances in this one. But yeah, just can't get one to go. It's going to be tough sledding against teams that are very good like the Rangers are. Their defensive structure was really good. I wonder if Dylan's going to talk about that when he gets on, because Dan was talking about their 1-1-3 structure. And when the Kraken had the puck in their own end, like behind the net, and were trying to break it out, the Rangers were really good at getting in their structures through the neutral zone, and it gave the Kraken fits all night. Let's see. Yeah, Jessica, we did try stupid quick. Yeah, a lot of that is Jonathan Quick playing as well as he did. Christian liked Beniers' play in this game and showing off the stick handling skills. Yeah, I thought this was another strong game from Matty, and the speed was evident too against some of the Rangers speedsters. There were a couple times where he was up against a Chris Kreider, or even Amika Zibanejad going against him, and he was able to outskate those guys on a few occasions. And so that was kind of cool to see, because I know Kreider has a lot of speed. To see Matty go stride for stride with him was really nice. Super chat here from Light. Not mad at the effort, not mad at the group performance. This is basically what I wanted to see from the team. Says a lot about how good they can be. I'm pretty much with you on that, Light. I was overall pleasantly surprised by the performance. Look, we know what this team's limitations are just from a roster construction standpoint, right? They don't have star players. They are a mid team, as we've talked about many times this season. But we are hoping that they can be the type of mid team that at least plays good teams close. And that's exactly what they did tonight. So I can't be disappointed with the effort there. I just think it shows the limits of the actual roster that's been assembled here. Jake agreed. We hung in there on what was basically a scheduled loss, but man, do I hate the Rangers. Interesting. Let's see. Sean, Kraken did so many things right for so long. I woke up this morning thinking this would be the loss, and oh well, but this loss, the way it happened, was just so deflating. I don't know. I mean, I guess if for me, I kind of had this marked down as a loss for a while, and it would have felt more deflating, at least personally for me, if they had come out and lost 5-0, 6-1, something like that, because it would have just confirmed to me that a lot of those last 4 wins that they had was really on playing bad opponents. And I do think there's still a pretty big element of that, but at least this performance tells me that maybe there were some good things the Kraken were doing in those 4 wins that might make it translate to playing at least mid teams in the future. Sean, say whatever you want that Tolvi Myers' Spronger line was significantly better than what was out there yesterday. That's just a fact, whatever that may mean. I do agree with you, Sean. And I was talking with Dylan about this during the game, and actually before the game, he was saying that, look, because the style that the Rangers play and because Myers is a better fit on that line, no matter what, win or loss, whatever happens in this game tonight, they're going to look a lot better than that Shane line did last game. And everyone's going to think, oh, see, this is why you take Shane out of the lineup. He hasn't been playing well, all that stuff. And they're going to draw those conclusions from it. And Sean, I like that you haven't drawn the conclusions that maybe some might draw from that. I really just think if you're going to have Tolvanen and Sprong as your 2 wingers, Ben Myers is just so much better of a fit in the middle. I still think there are plenty of good places you can put Shane and plenty he can bring to this team. But yeah, that line was just a better fit in my mind. And Hockey Fork, those were some soft goals by Grubauer, but he still had a 9-13 in that one, just no goal support. Aside from that second one, I thought he was good. You can't blame him on the first one. I still think it's a problem where just about every game that he starts, you're going to have one goal that you'd really like to see back. And in this one, it was at a pivotal moment in the game. Yes, the Kraken didn't end up scoring, but if it's a 1-goal game, you're always just one bounce away. And you can't say that after that second goal goes in. I think that was a deflating one, and boy, was it soft. I mean, that was just a little kind of flip change up by the shoulder. That one needs to get stopped every single time. And so, look, this loss isn't on Grubauer. It's not his fault, but he has to have that one. Super chat here from Light. Also, if Berkey keeps his play up, I'd be fine with moving Ebbs to Shane's wing. He's balling out right now. Yeah, that is interesting, I guess. If you have, Burakovsky, on that top line, and by whenever Eberle is ready to come back, because you're not breaking up a line of McCann, Beniers, Eberle, right? That could open up a spot there for Shane. And I think if there is one player on this whole team that you could put on a line with Shane Wright to help him get his confidence back and get going, it's Jordan Eberle. The reason they hadn't done it before is I just think they couldn't really afford to take him off of that line and break up the line with McCann and Beniers. So I like that idea, Light. That's a good one. Let's hop back up in chat here. X-Kid Z really felt like a game where you can see the gap, or Fusion Mix, sorry, it really felt like a game where you can see the gap in talent between him and much of the roster. Yeah, no, I agree with that one. Let's see. Bryce, I have a positive take on the Shane scratch. I think now we know for sure that the coaching staff want what the coaching staff wants and expects more from him, and that his current style of play isn't coming from Dan. Yeah. Wait, let me try and reread that one, just make sure I have it. So that the coaching staff wants and expects more from him, and that his current style of play isn't coming from Dan. Yeah, I mean, I think there are standards, right? And if you're not producing up to a certain point, I think sometimes at least this coaching staff is willing to make a change instead of letting him just kind of not produce repeatedly and make the same mistakes being put in the same spots. I would expect Shane to come back in the lineup pretty quick. But yeah, it's good that they have those expectations for him and they're doing something about it. I wouldn't expect him to stay out of the lineup long though. Fusion Mix Jonathan Quick is becoming the Joe Pavelski of backup goalies. Oof, that's, again, growing up a Sharks fan, that hurts me. That hurts me. Yeah, Maddie, unsurprised with the loss, but extremely happy with the effort. Yeah, well said. That's kind of how I would sum it up. Amanda, on my 30-minute break, and it seems like this one was a good one to miss watching. You know what? Yeah, it wasn't the worst game. I mean, there have been games where the Kraken have come out, or this season just been completely outplayed and outmuscled. This wasn't that. But yeah, if you were looking for, I guess, maybe pure entertainment value in this one, it's probably a decent one to miss. Zoe, that was a crazy stat from Ian. Every game on the second half of a back-to-back is a 2-0 shutout loss. Interesting. I wonder how far back that goes. But yeah, I mean, the Kraken, they've been rough on the second half of back-to-backs. And I don't know what it is. This one I just think was a better opponent. Like, I don't even think they came out worse, but just for whatever reason, they haven't been able to just get a goal to go for them in those situations. And then, yeah, Anthony agreeing. The second goal is really unfortunate because for 99% of the game, it felt like Grubauer played really well. I agree. It's just that 1%. Shadek, what was your favorite goal? Oh, wait. Yeah. I mean, I guess of the two, it was certainly the Lafreniere goal, because that was a heck of a pass by Artemi Panarin. If I can just give him some credit there, because that was just a star player making a star play. Let's see, Sean, Joey is the better goalie. You need him in the games. You have a chance. It's simple. That's where I'm at. That's where I've been at. That's why I was advocating for handling the goalies this way, whether it was on Postgame like a week ago or even on Kraken Audio Network when I went on there too. I said it might be a controversial take, but that's what I would do. Let's see. Virginia, coaches didn't hang Drew out to dry, but the rest of the team kind of did. I don't know. I think I actually, I wouldn't agree with that, because I think this was a solid effort. And look, all you can try and do in a game like this, I mentioned it after the Dallas game, I mentioned it, I think there was another game too, is when you're playing against a really good team, all you can do is just try and keep it close and take advantage of the few opportunities you do get. And really this one, I think having a somewhat functional power play would have helped a lot in this one, because the Kraken stayed out of the box. They didn't take a single penalty. They got a power play opportunity. If you maybe generate some better looks on that one, this game could look very different. But yeah, I'm sorry, no one's brought up the power play yet, but I do think that is worth talking about too, because in a game like this, you're going to have to take advantage of, the few power play opportunities you get. Let's see. Amanda, the Duck Shark schedule is so weird. I hope the back and forth flying isn't an issue. It is really weird. I don't like how they've done it, because I'm going to have to miss the game where San Jose's here, because I'm going to that game in San Jose. But yeah, back and forth from California to Seattle. I don't quite understand it. I'm sure arena availability has something to do with it, but it is kind of puzzling on that schedule. Like from Stacy, don't gotta like the outcome, but you should like the stream. Thank you for that, Stacy. Virginia Piper interviewing Lars. He looks pretty disappointed. Yeah, I'm unsurprisingly, right? I think I would imagine, and we'll talk to Dylan and we'll kind of see if this matches what the players say. I would imagine the mood in the room is one of, we gave a good effort, we gave it our all, and it still wasn't enough, and that is going to be pretty disappointing, I would imagine, just to not get the bounces you feel like you need. Viren likes the McCann, Beniers, Burakovsky line. I do too. I'm surprised at how well Burakovsky has stepped in there for Eberle, but feels like they may have actually found a spot for him where he's kind of contributing. Oh, of course, maybe that makes sense, right? Burakovsky has always been better in his career, the better players that he has played with. He's good at elevating already good players. And I think this is the first time, or the closest that he's been with the Kraken to kind of being in that spot, especially the way that Jared McCann's playing. McCann's playing like a true star forward. And I think Burakovsky's kind of feeding off of that. Fusion Mix, the infamous Shinny hockey game was the end of Quick's tenure as a starter in LA. That trade really hurt him. So even if it's gone well for him since then, I imagine there's a little revenge play. I do wonder if that game was still in his mind. I feel like that's not one you easily forget, although for a legend like Jonathan Quick, I'm sure he's probably able to brush that one off. He's had plenty of successes in his career. Let's see. And yeah, Fusion Mix saying one's got to go in for Berkey soon. I agree with that. I think he's due for one. I mean, we know he's been due for one, but especially so as these games pile up. Chris, on a bright note, nice to stay out of the box. I'm glad you mentioned that, Chris, because that was one of my biggest takeaways from not just this game, but the last few games. The Kraken have done a fantastic job of staying out of the penalty box. And I think that's contributed massively to their 4-game win streak that they had before this one, and even giving them a chance tonight. Because look, the Rangers have a really good power play. They've got some good players on it. The Blackhawks had a really good power play. The more you put a team like that on the power play, they can make you pay. And it's just not giving the other team any momentum to get into a game. I think especially against teams that are maybe bad and you should beat, if you can, the two elements I think that have really gotten the Kraken their win streak is staying out of the box and great goaltending from Joey Decor. And you can just shut down the other team's momentum so effectively when you have those two things. It's so hard for another team to get going. And so I think that's really important. And I was telling Dylan, I was suggesting maybe, I don't know if we'll get the chance to ask one of the players about it. I think we got Schwartz and Stevenson that we're going to talk to, but I was going to see if he could ask about how they've been able to stay out of the box recently. Cause I'm kind of curious what the mindset is from the players that's allowed them to do that. Cause it seems like a switch flipped maybe 4 games or so ago, and they've been able to stay out of the box. And I think that has been huge for them. So glad you brought that up, Chris. See, Amanda said, can we all just manifest a Berkey goal? I feel like we've been trying. Oh, Dexter, cool. Best from Dexter. Great seeing you and Dylan tonight. Keep doing your thing and bringing us fantastic content. Thank you so much, Dexter. It was great seeing you tonight, meeting outside the section. Funny coincidence that we happen to end up in the same place there. But yeah, happy to see you and go Seawolves. Let's see. Jake, did someone post the other night that we hadn't won a game we didn't take a penalty in? I think someone did post that the other night, actually. I wonder if that stat is, I wonder if that is true. Because I remember I think whoever posted it saying they weren't sure if they could verify it or something. So I got to have to look into that. But still, I do think it helps. I really do think it helps if they stay out of the box as opposed to not. Let's see. Andrew, when do we get one of those star players making star plays? Potentially whenever Berkeley Catton arrives. I think that's probably the most likely answer. Or if Shane figures it out, that's still possible, but yeah, it might be a little while. Four Horsemen, I achieved my side quest of waving to RJ and Dylan at the game. Yeah, it was cool to see you there out behind the press bridge in that section. Yeah, good to see you, Four Horsemen. That was fun waving to you there. Stratic, Kraken couldn't get a goal to go in early and then kind of tired out / were snuffed out by the Rangers. I agree with that. Also, I do want to mention that I like the start from the Kraken tonight. That's another positive to take out of this game. Is I thought the Kraken, for the first time in a long time, started on time. They were ready to go from the opening puck drop, and I thought they looked great. Like, it was a surprisingly good period. I think Stratic mentioned it at some point, whether it was on the Discord or social media, that it was a good road period, even though they were at home. And I think I independently said that to Dylan, and he said, oh, Stratic said that on the Discord. So we were kind of thinking the same way there, Stratic. Because, yeah, I thought it was a good start and a good first period, just keeping it low event, because I really do think that is the blueprint to beating teams like this. You just have to kind of get those bounces that the Kraken haven't gotten. Let's see, Becca, Myers and Sprong haven't even had a chance to do a full practice with the team, right? This game was fine considering. That is true. Yeah, Sprong has not practiced with the team yet since arriving from Vancouver, and Myers, of course, hasn't had the chance to practice with them either. With the back-to-backs, there's there's just no time. You're just playing games. They haven't even really gotten a proper morning skate in because they didn't have one this morning. So that is a good point there, Becca. And maybe a practice or two will do them some good, especially Sprong, because I feel like there are still a few moments where he's just not on the same page with some of the other guys he's on the ice with. And look, that's understandable if you haven't had a single practice with him. So I think a practice would really do Sprong some good. Ricky still would like to see them plant carts on the goalie during one of the power plays. They never seem to get the puck into the slot. Yeah, I mean, there haven't been enough times they've worked into those areas. I do think Jaden Schwartz is doing a good job getting to those areas. The pucks just aren't being fed to those spots, I think. Let's see, Viren, the 2-0 losses in back-to-backs is only for this season. Okay, their last win on the second half of back-to-back was March 5th, 24 against Winnipeg. Okay, thank you for looking that up, Viren. See, Becca, no Susie, no Dunn, no box. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, having Vince Dunn out of the lineup probably helps. That's the one respect I think where that actually does help you, maybe, is staying out of the box. And then, yeah, the spicy typo actually did feel appropriate there from Fusion Mix. No, there's like a loud yell from somewhere down in the arena. I don't know what's going on with that. So Light, Berkeley Catton and Rakoff both look like they are going to be the star caliber offensive players. Rakoff's season this year is making him look like the biggest draft steal of 2023. He is having a really great season, as Julia is echoing there. I know Julia, I think, got to see him in person earlier this year. It's just been very, very good. And actually, this is a good chance to plug Dylan's prospect chat, which is tomorrow. He's going to be talking all about the prospect. So now is actually a fantastic time to sign up if you're thinking at all about signing up for the Patreon, or just you want to check it out for free. If you sign up for a week-long free trial, there's a 7-day free trial option. Doesn't cost you a dime. You can actually check out all of this month's Patreon bonus content, because we've got the prospect chat tomorrow for Dylan. We've got the Armchair GM stream the very next day on the 19th that I will be doing, and we'll be going down some Kraken teardown options. We'll be talking about the new, maybe higher salary cap, and lots of other things. So that's going to be fun. And then on the 23rd at 1 p.m., we're going to have our live game commentary. We're going to watch the Kraken Kings game together. So that's going to be a really fun time. So if you've been thinking about, I know we have a lot of patrons already in here, but if you've been thinking about joining or just want to check it out, there is no better time than right now, or maybe even suggest to your friends to try it out. It's the perfect time to see, and it won't cost you a dime to check it out and see what we're all about. So I wanted to get that plug in there because the prospect chat's going to be really good. And yeah, Rakoff has looked excellent. I'm curious if Dylan thinks that he could really be all the way up to star caliber, because I just haven't seen enough of him play to be able to confidently say it. But I know Dylan has even seen him in person, and so it's going to be cool to see kind of what his scouting takeaway is from that. Let's see. Julia, seeing the Steelheads, Martone just looked like a true star. Rakoff is the high-level playmaker making it work. Interesting. Yeah, I know Porter Martone, from what Dylan has not stopped talking about him since seeing him in that game. It looks like he's going to be, probably a top 2 pick this year, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. Sasquatch Schwartz with 2 or 3 big chances early, couldn't get them to go. Game might have been different if he had. Yeah, that's true. Schwartz had some really good looks, and he's going to the right areas. He's going to the net. He's doing what you want to see from him. Just hasn't been able to get those bounces. I feel like he's another guy who's probably due for one pretty soon, just given the areas that he's going to. Viren, 3-0 PIM games in Kraken history in which they are 0-2-1. So this would only be the 3rd one. That's really interesting. I would have thought there would be more. Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, okay. Maybe don't have a 0 penalty minute game. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you wanted to get the box in at least once. Maybe Dan knew what he was doing by taking the too many men penalty the other game. So it shows what I know. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I get it now, Bryce, on your earlier comment. This makes a lot more sense. Yeah, Bryce saying that if the coaching staff was okay with Shane just being a low event defensive center, he'd still be in the lineup. I'm glad they expect more. Right, and I do think they expect more from him than that, because he was fine as a low event defensive center. All the numbers show that. The numbers bear that out. I mean, I see Chuck with the next chat there, especially the numbers that Chuck sent us about the centers and what they're doing. I know a little more happens when Shane's on the ice, but still, it's all positive. But I do think the expectations are a little bit higher. They want him producing something. And I agree with you, Bryce. I think that's a good thing. So this one from Chuck here: was at the game and watched Trocheck mug Riker shift after shift with no calls. It factored in Panarin's pass getting through. I loathe Vincent Trocheck. Yeah, the refs did let a lot of ones go in this one. They called it pretty loose, but I think that's something that, it was consistent both ways. And not a single penalty was called on the Kraken, so the Kraken clearly never crossed that line. And I think it's one that you just have to recognize the refs are calling it that way and adapt. But yeah, I mean, there was some very physical play. There was a lot of that stuff, but I think both teams should have realized that it just consistently wasn't getting called. Oh, the Byron, this is the fourth, so 0-3-1. Gotcha. Thank you for that. Let's see. Alan, the yell is Dylan being denied having lemon lime Gatorade. Yeah, it's probably Dylan down there, just with the yell. Actually looking up to see if I see him. Nope, don't see him yet. So we're only 25 minutes in. I really do wonder what the takeaways from this one are going to be from the players and Dan. So we'll have Dylan on in a little bit. He'll join us. It's so what you're telling me is the team needs Dunn to take penalties to win? Apparently, I think they just need the whole package. They need everything that Vince Dunn brings, penalties and all. Stratic, time for Tanev, Wright or Gord, and Sprong. That'd be interesting. The thing is, I'm curious what everyone thinks too about the Tanev, Karche, and Gord line, because they have just been dominant at times, and it's confusing me why. It just feels like the effort they're giving is so much more than all these other lines on the team, and I would be hesitant to break them up, given that we've seen a lot of flashes of that. Of course, if it helps get Shane Wright going, that's one of the most important things you can do. But I feel like I'm not ready to break up that line quite yet, because they've just been puzzlingly good at times in the last few games. Let's see. Light, Berkeley Catton is so darn fun. I've said that Catton is a worth the price of admission type of guy. Yeah, I've heard that. I need to see him in person at some point. Dylan and I need to go out to a Thunderbirds or Silvertips game where they're playing Spokane and check it out, because I know we've been wanting to see him in person since he got drafted. Let's see. Alan, I wouldn't say this game was us being bad, but I'm bummed we couldn't tuck one past Quick. I think Forsland was talking about Quick rolling back the clock on his skill level to flashes of his prime. You definitely did see flashes of prime Jonathan Quick in this one. With the way he's moving around the net and covering things down low, he's just so fast. Was one play, I think it was in the third period, where the Kraken, they were pushing, trying to get a goal to get back in it, and they threw it net front, and they actually got the tip they wanted. I think it was right after the Kraken pulled their goalie. And it deflected it on net exactly how you wanted, but Quick, just legs totally stretched out, had the stick down, and just had everything down low covered. And I turned to Dylan and I said, that's vintage Jonathan Quick. That is the Jonathan Quick I remember, who was stealing series from the San Jose Sharks and other teams as I was growing up. So yeah, he definitely did turn back the clock in this one, and it was a vintage Jonathan Quick performance for sure. Back with the Squatch ECH crossover episode. Yeah, I love having Sasquatch in here. Let's see. Ricky, right centering Gordon Tanev. That's the next experiment. Need Shane Wright not to do the corner work. Yeah, I mean, I that's true. I guess it would get Gordon Tanev to maybe go do the corner work if Wright's centering it. Again, I still don't love breaking up the line with Gord, Tanev, and Karche, but I guess you got to do what you got to do. I wouldn't hate it, but I still wouldn't do it. At least not yet. If you lose a game you're not supposed to lose, then maybe you switch things up. Sam, can't win them all. Also just finished watching my Bolts avoid charging against the Bengals. Suck on that, Dylan. I'm going to save that chat for when Dylan gets back. I'm going to pull that one back up, Sam, because that one needs to be read when Dylan is on here. I hope Will Dissly did something more, because I need him to do a lot in my fantasy game to have any kind of chance. So hopefully Will Dissly got another touchdown or two. That would be really great. Viren, I wonder what the PIM versus points percentage distribution looks like. Too much work for post game. Yeah, that's definitely too much work for a post game, but that is interesting. I do wonder what that would look like. The relationship we could establish between those two things. Zoe, would Vince Dunn and Jordan Eberle in the lineup have gotten the team a win? That's a good question. Of course, it's a hypothetical. We'll never know for sure. If I had to guess, I would say no. I don't know that, look, Eberle and Dunn help you offensively, but would this be one of those games they would account for a goal by themselves? I don't know. And I don't think the Kraken had enough power play opportunities that I could say for sure. but the way that Jonathan Quick was playing, no, I don't think so. And it's not anything, bad to the Kraken, right? I just think the Rangers are just that much better of a team. Light, can we talk about how good Matty has looked? Feels like he's starting to become the Bergeron/Taves that he was hyped up as potentially being. Certainly on the defensive side, I feel like he's been that for a while, actually. I think he still needs a little bit more offensive production consistently to reach that level of a Bergeron and a Taves, and he is playing with the best players the Kraken have to offer at this point with Jared McCann and until recently Jordan Eberle. So I'm not ready to fully go there yet, but he's tracking that way. And what his skating has become too, with Jess working with him on it in practice, and they work together all the time on that. I know it was reported at first like a month ago or so, but still every practice, every morning skate, you see him working with Jess on his skating. And I think that's unlocked the next level of his game that really is not the type of thing that Bergeron or Taves really had, but Matty's making it work for him. So I am happy with his progress. Still not ready to put him in that camp quite yet, but he's tracking there. See. Oh, Sima there. It was nice seeing you and Dylan tonight. Big fan. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. We were waiting there in the concourse, and thank you for coming up and saying hello. It was nice to meet you, and thank you for the kind words there tonight. This is cool. I love seeing everybody who we came across at the game today leaving something in chat. That's really great. Let's see. Pablo, RJ, where is Dylan at? He is still down there. I'm guessing probably in the media room because it's probably about time to hear from Dan Bilesbo, or he's heading up, but he should be up pretty soon. I would imagine we'll hear from him pretty quickly. I don't see him up there quite yet getting set up, so probably 5 minutes or so away at least, but he'll be on soon and we'll kind of get the takeaways from him. I mean, the longer this goes without him joining us, the more interesting I think it is, just because longer tends to mean a little bit more in terms of interesting takes from the players and from the coaches, especially after a loss like this one. Usually there's a type of loss like if it's a 2-0 loss, often it is this way, where you go in and the players, I think the general feeling is, well, we just didn't have it tonight. We lost. There's not much more to it to be said. And so you get through really quickly, and usually I'll join 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in. But sometimes there's losses, and I'm guessing this one might be one of those where the players, feel a little bit extra, whether it's disappointed or frustrated or whatever it is, and have a little bit more to say. So let's hope it's one of those. And Dylan can join us fairly soon. I did remember to send him the link to join. I do remember that. Let's see, Becca undrafted line. Cart scored turbo, never got anything without working super hard. That is really interesting. I don't know why I'd never put those pieces together. That's a really good comment. I like that. I mean, that should be like the name for that line, maybe, or something around that. If we have a good nickname there, the undrafted line. Let's see. Ricky, team isn't competitive until they get their centers producing. Getting Shane Wright going is critical. I mean, it is an interesting theme with the centers in general, and seeing the lack of production really from all of the centers compared to the wingers. I think that might have something to do with just the way the team is playing and the way they're scheming their offense. You can argue maybe it's working or not working and they should change it or not, but I think that would be a pretty big change to make. And I think it does go beyond just Shane Wright. Sam shouting out the Firebirds, 5-game win streak, third in their division. I knew they'd pick it up at some point. Had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but you knew they were going to get it together. So happy to see that. Let's see. Super chat here from Andrew. Proud of our effort. We fought against a better team. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Kraken put up a good fight. They hung in there against the Rangers, which are certainly, I think, a better team than the Kraken, but they made it close. And, that's, I feel like given the talent mismatch, that's kind of all you can ask for, is to get a chance. As I see Dylan setting up here. So, there he is. There he is. All right, let's. Hey there, Dylan.
Hey, trying to...
Are you on a little bit early?
Yeah. No, sorry, it took me a sec.
No, it's all right. They were so eager to have you here. I got impatient. I just threw you right on as soon as I saw you.
No worries at all. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the vibe in here has been so far, but guys disappointed a little bit. in the locker room. But it's still 4 out of 5 so far on the homestand. You can still close it out and pick up a win with the last game on Wednesday. So all in all, it hasn't been too terrible.
Yeah, and I did get some comments in here saying that Lars was on the post-game show and some people in chat heard from him and he sounded really disappointed. Was that kind of the feel you got from the guys? Because I felt like, and this seems to be a consensus in here, the Kraken put in a really good effort.
Yeah.
They just played against a better team and came up short.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, right? It kind of happens after every loss, right? There's always disappointment. I think anytime it's a close one like this, I think anytime you get kind of the goaltending performance that they got, like everybody to a person talked about the effort that Grubauer gave them and how they just weren't able to put one in the net. And I think that's the other thing, right? You can always be disappointed after a loss. I think you're going to be even more disappointed after you get shut out because everybody takes that a little personal as far as not being able to, do the thing that they're here to do.
Right. And we heard that from Yanni Gord after the last game. It was kind of the flip side of it where he scored his first goal of the season, but he knew that even with everything he had been contributing, if he wasn't scoring goals, he wasn't helping his team in a very crucial way. And that was wearing on him. I'm sure everybody feels their own share of that tonight.
Yeah. And that's, Chandler Stevenson talked about that and that, if you're on a line, you can play as well as any other line, but if you're not putting it in the net, that's it, right? Like that's ultimately what's going to decide things. That's ultimately what you want to do every time you step foot out there on the ice, and they just weren't able to do it tonight.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, what did Dan have to say about this one?
So Dan thought that for the most part, everything, was pretty solid. He was also proud of their effort and what they were able to do. Felt that, they came out there and felt like they had a good response at the end, knowing that they needed to get 2. He said they were already planning on thinking that they were going to need 2 to win the game, and instead it just shifted to we need 2 to tie it, and then we'll go from there. But he seemed for the most part okay with at least how the effort was out there on the ice. So obviously disappointed with the end result, but okay with the effort.
Now, I've got to ask, I'm curious, was there any talk about, because the Kraken have stayed out of the box. They've done a really good job of that recently. Yeah. Was anybody asked about that? Although, interesting stat Viren pulled up. So in the Kraken's franchise history, there's only been 4 games. This is the 4th, 0 penalty minute game. The Kraken are 0-3-1 in those games. So maybe that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to present that to Dan and ask his opinion on something like that, because that's like a really interesting concept there. No, nobody was asked about it. So we were supposed to get Stevenson and then Jaden Schwartz, and I was going to ask Jaden Schwartz. You and I kind of talked about that and
he would be the guy.
Yeah. And Schwartz wasn't able to join us after a wait, and so we got Daniel Sprong instead. And the questions for him were more so about him joining the team and how that process all kind of happened, rather than talking about the lack of penalties taken.
No, I missed Sprong. That was the one thing I wanted. I wanted to talk to Sprong. All right, we'll have to say hi to him at practice then.
Yes, and I can tell while we're on the topic of Sprong, he talked about how he's really happy to be back in Seattle. He loves the fans here. He loves the atmosphere here at CPA. Very excited. Said he didn't want to leave originally. Just it was a cap situation. He was happy that they gave him the opportunity to go and get paid somewhere and to do that. But he didn't want to leave originally. This is where he's wanted to play, and he was really, really excited that they were able to go out and get him here for round 2.
Oh, I love hearing that from Daniel Sprong. And then Virginia even posted earlier. There's lots of clips of Sprong, I'm guessing, on the post-game show. He's really happy to be back. So I'm glad everyone's seeing that. Yeah. That makes me very happy.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump down here toward the bottom of chat here. Actually, I'm going to scroll back up for a second because there was one from Sam that I needed to read to you. Yeah, can't win them all. Also just finished watching my Bolts avoid charging against the Bengals. Suck on that, Dylan. What's your response?
It's when you've got a defense the way the Bengals have a defense, you learn pretty quick that you're going to lose a lot of close games, and that's what's been happening. And so,
right. Good measured response there from you, Dylan, as I would expect.
I mean, I was going to say I could really get into it, but as a Bengals fan, I can't say that this is anything new or shocking to me, to have seasons like this.
Yeah, you've seen much worse.
Well conditioned.
Yeah. So hop into the bottom of chat here. And by the way, if I skipped over anything or missed anything, feel free to throw it back in chat. I kind of like to jump to the bottom here once Dylan gets here. Bryce, I think the players being disappointed makes sense. I can't imagine they would be like, well, they're a better team, so it's okay.
I mean, exactly, right? And that's the way, it's basically what you'd expect. Like I said, it's kind of the same what they do after every loss. Like I said, shutouts kind of bring an extra sting to them, and I think that comes across when you're talking with them. Stevenson talked about how good Quick had been, just that he's still got it, right? Like that was just the bottom line, is just that he still has it. I can tell you, I watched him. He walked past me while I was waiting for the elevator to come back up here, and he just has the vibes and aura of somebody who still has it, and he definitely did out there on the ice tonight.
Yeah, it's something we definitely talked about plenty in here. There was some vintage Jonathan Quick in this one. There was another chat earlier saying that Dylan, about to spend 20 minutes or something talking about, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, Dylan about to talk about Dan's quote on Shane for 20 minutes. So I'm curious, what was that quote about Shane Wright from Dan?
Yeah, so I was just going to bring that up. He talked about how, as of late, Shane's play has been trending in, I think he said, the wrong direction, to give the direct quote from him, and that he had a long talk with him earlier today about, watching this game and really talking about all of the positive stuff that he was doing through training camp and earlier in the season. Just the way he was playing, the way he specifically said the way that he had been skating and the way he had been playing with the puck. Those were the two things that he kind of highlighted as he was talking about it, and he referenced several times the training camp that Shane had and how positive that looked. Reading between the lines, I don't think, adding in confident would be too much. I think that was kind of, he was dancing around maybe that a little bit. And so, yeah, it was just one of those things where he had the conversation, give him a reset, let him watch this game, talk to him about the parts about his game that they really like, that they feel like they need in the lineup, that they want him to focus on and get back to. Give him the night off, let him watch the game, let him focus on that stuff, let him reset, and then we'll see how he comes out for the next one.
Okay. Yeah, I like that word reset there. And it's interesting, Dan being, I don't know, I feel like pretty candid about using the term, this play going in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, I feel like that kind of thing, if that quote gets out, might be pounced on by Montreal people. But still, I think he's, being kind of frank and honest about it.
Trending as of late, so it's not,
Okay, I'm sure I'm sure all the Montreal media fans will treat it with that kind of nuance. But then question here from Striatic then, do you think any line changes might happen for next game? And do we expect to see Shane back in there right away?
Yeah, so that I don't know. The way he phrased it made me think that any sort of, scratching of Shane is going to be more on the temporary side, right? Whether it's just tonight, or maybe it's for tonight and then the next game, and then you go on the road and you work him back in or something like that. I don't know. He did not get specific about that, but just the way he was talking about it implied that this was more of a temporary thing, just having a guy get his head right, so to speak, get back to, simplifying his game, focusing on the stuff that he does well, go out there, just execute and do the stuff that you do well, play the game that you can play the game that you were playing not that long ago, and kind of go from there. I think, that's what we saw with like Oliver Bjorkstrand a couple games ago, right? Like that's just something that happens. It particularly happens with young players. Don't know that it's necessarily too big a deal, and I think there's a chance that we see him back for against Nashville here on Wednesday.
Right, I think that's certainly a possibility. And Jake asking, and actually I have a few kind of questions about this. I'm going to put you in the coach's shoes now. You're in Bilesma's shoes. Jake asking, I still want to see Shane on the wing for a bit. And then Julia was asking earlier, what would be your ideal Shane Wright line? So if you're Dan Bilesma, you're going to put Shane back in the lineup with a chance to go and trend his play in the right direction. Who would you put on a line with him, and would you have him playing winger or center?
I mean, I would love to say Ebbs, but that's not really an option at the moment, as far
We
as we
discussed
know.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a suggestion earlier in here that Ebbs would be good, and I agree, but can't do that right now.
yeah. I think if the emphasis that you're trying to get him to focus on is skating, play with the puck, as Dan said, and that's something that we've all kind of wanted to see is certainly him pick it up offensively and play the way we know he can play in the offensive zone. Then I do think a move to the wing for a little while, particularly if you've already got Ben Myers called up and hanging around, who can pick up centering duties. I would love to see Shane on the wing a little bit. I'd love to see him in a top six capacity if possible, playing out there.
Stevenson and Schwartz,
Get him,
maybe.
yeah, give him some minutes. I do think him with Stevenson and Schwartz could be interesting. I know some other people have talked about that in chat in the past. I think having him out there with a true setup man like Stevenson, somebody who's going to draw attention net front the way Jaden Schwartz does, and certainly saw him doing that tonight, getting in there and getting some good chances. I think that would do a lot for Shane to just be able to focus on things in the offensive zone a little bit more. This is, we've talked about the systems that they're running right now. It puts a lot of emphasis on that F1 defensively, and that's more often than not going to be the center that has been Shane. We know how Shane takes defense, to heart and really wants to do the utmost that he can there. I think taking a little bit of that off his plate, letting him focus more so on the offense, get going, show the skills that we know he has that he just hasn't really been in a place to show so far this season. I, I, I really, that is what I would want to see if I was the coach. And I think that that's something that I would prioritize moving forward, at least in the short term, just to get him going.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think on the line as a wing on a line with Schwartz and Stevenson would be the spot where I would put him to answer that question. And
Yeah,
we've got a couple more.
I was going to say, if you're going to put him on the wing, I would want to really give him a shot there. Like, I wouldn't want to just like slide him over and have him replace Tolvanen or Sprong with Ben Myers, centering that line or something like that. I would really want to throw him out there and give him every chance to succeed and to go out there and build up that confidence.
Yeah, craft a situation for him, I think would be the ideal thing. Yeah, Maddie's saying she thinks a mental reset will help Wright. And then Light suggesting maybe Winterton. Light would want to see Winterton get some more time with Shane on his wing. I don't know, because they brought up Winterton earlier. They put the two of them together and it did not go well.
Yeah.
I want to go with something I feel like is a little less risky, at least at the moment.
I get the concept of bringing in somebody he knows and he plays well with, and you can have that kind of familiarity working in his favor as you're working on building his overall confidence and stuff. But I think having him with somebody else who's also going to be trying to find their game at the NHL level probably isn't the smart thing right now, given the place Shane's at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And while I do disagree with that chat from you, Light, I'd agree with this one, saying I think if it was Hack scratching Shane, I'd have been a lot more worried, but I just don't get the impression Dan would want to punish Shane. They seem to have a great relationship. I agree completely on that.
Yeah, and look, it's back-to-back anyway, right? The concept of taking anybody out of the lineup on a back-to-back like that, particularly a bottom six forward, it's not that abnormal, right? And so I think that, being able to build it around the back-to-back like this, the fact that Dan specifically said, and this does not surprise me and probably doesn't surprise anybody who followed Coachella Valley, the fact that he said he talked with him for a long time today about it and the reasons why it's happening and what Shane can do to keep it from happening again, right? Like, these are the things that you would want a coach to do with any player, but more specifically a young player who is trying to find their way at the NHL level and figure out who they are and what their game is going to look like and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's really important. And the phrasing there, it speaks a lot, and it does show that, yeah, this is somebody who gets it. I think Shane's the kind of player that will respect that, learn from it, is going to listen to everything that Dan was talking about and focus on that stuff and apply it to the best of his abilities moving forward.
you know that Dan is huge on communication, and so whatever he does is going to be thoroughly explained to the players. Shane Wright is he's young, but he's a mature player. He's a mature person. He can understand that and know to work on that. I mean, he's, when you've been a top prospect for as long as he was, you've heard everything about your game that you can possibly hear, I think. So, this is not going to be the kind of thing that's disappointing to him. He's just going to go out and try and right the ship here. And then Byron saying, although I would have liked to see it at home rather than on the road, agreeing with Light's suggestion with Wichita and with a better third than Tolvanen. Yeah, and Light, don't get me started on Tolvi. I may have to go to the armchair GM to get my opinions of him off my chest. He's been on some rough lines recently. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, look, tonight the line did better than they played yesterday. Like, there's that. At least it still
a low
wasn't
bar,
great.
but yeah.
Yeah, it still wasn't great, right? Like they were more positive, but I think some of that was also the line matching that Dan was doing. We saw a lot of heavy line matching really these last two nights, and I don't know if you talked about what Dan had said prior to the game about yesterday against the Islanders, and the Islanders missing a forward, and then that causing them to double shift certain guys, and maybe that being the reason that we saw the lower ice time for Shane's line, as well as the over 20-minute stuff for Bjorkstrand and Stevenson, I think, was the other one to also get over 20 minutes yesterday. And we kind of saw that again tonight, right? Like the Ben Myers line, it played better than that line played yesterday, but it still was not out there very long, right? Those were some short shifts. They were out there for a little while, and they were out there against probably the softest line that the Rangers have, right? In the sense that they're not a bunch of big physical guys the way the Islanders were yesterday that are going to come in and try to physically assert themselves and pressure you a bunch in the offensive zone. It's guys like Jimmy Vesey who's going to go out there and he's going to try to do his thing. And then if you just kind of get the puck away from him, he's not going to hunt you down the way some of those Islanders were going to yesterday. So I think that played some of the role in why that line was, in the offensive zone a little bit more than we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I actually didn't bring that up, even though I should have. That was an explanation from Dan about why Shane got so little ice. I think about 8 minutes because the Islanders were down a forward. They double shifted Horvat. They double shifted Nelson. And so they kind of need to put certain guys, not the Shane Wright line, out against them. And then I want to get to this one earlier from Zoe, though, asking about Eberle and do we expect Ebbs back again against Nashville? Guessing no. I would guess no as well. I thought about saying it because I saw him after the last game against the Islanders on crutches talking to an Islanders former teammate. Didn't know if that was out there already, but now I know it is out there. So yeah, he was on crutches. He did not look like a player who's coming back soon.
I can also say that, well, I mean, I think I can say this anyway. When walking to do the media availability, walked past the scratches kind of in the building for the Kraken, and it was Vince Dunn and Shane Wright. There was no Ebbs.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe
So
that
he might have been somewhere else. It just wasn't with them. But
yeah.
The way they were moving together and the timing of it, I don't know.
Scratches do usually stick together. I'll say that much. And then Zoe, LTIR bad for Ebbs? It wouldn't shock me. Again, I don't know anything beyond, I imagine he'll miss the Nashville.
I was going to say, have we really gotten a definitive lower or mid body designation? Because it's been kind of back and forth, it feels like.
Well, the official designation during the game when it happened was lower body.
Lower body.
And then Dan said mid body the next day.
Yeah.
I tend to think, looking at it, it's especially because Dan used mid body on Vince Dunn earlier, and we were pretty confident it was lower back, given the only place he landed on the ice was on his lower back. I imagine that's the sort of thing it is for Eberle, if I'm going to speculate, but that's just watching him crash to the boards. That's the part that hit the boards, aside from his elbow and his arm, but we know it's not that because that wouldn't be lower body.
Right. And what did I say when it happened?
Crutches, I guess, wouldn't be elbow and arm either, yeah.
No, probably not. To anybody that would listen, I was saying, like, watching him struggle to go down the tunnel, I was like, that's what I look like when my back is bad. That's kind of what I look like up there on the press bridge these last couple of games with my back being bad.
Back-to-backs are rough for your back.
It's really bad, yes. Thank you for letting me do this game. I do appreciate it. But that
No worries. I
that
only regret it a little bit.
I know. I'm sorry you keep having to take all the losses.
No, that's fine. It's Daniel Sprong. I missed out on Daniel Sprong. Don't worry, I'll get over it.
I walked down there all dressed in black and with my hair slicked back, and I'm only down there after losses. The players are going to probably start calling me the angel of death or something. But it was one where it was like I recognized that walk, and it's not a good walk. And yeah, it could potentially be a while. And how long was it before they officially like retroactively put done on LTIR? Like they can wait if they want to.
They can, yeah, they can do it retroactive to whenever the injury happened, and they would really only do it when they needed the cap space. So it would only be when Vince Dunn is ready to come back. So I think the soonest you would even potentially see it is the end of the month.
Right. And
whenever Vince Dunn is set to return.
Yeah, which we're what, a week and 2 days out from when Ron said 3 weeks. So
yeah, so I think it's basically just the end of the month. Yeah, it would be when that 3-week timeline is. So even if it is LTIR bad, I don't think we would see that designation for at least another couple weeks.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Zoe, does that imply that Dunn is close to coming back? Yeah, well, there's the timeline on the Dunn injury. And then Light on the upside, Gru has continued to look way better after coming back off an injury. Yeah, I mean, he looks very much like himself. I don't think the injury really impacted him at all, thankfully.
No, I thought he played really well. You want that second goal back, probably, I'm sure, if we talked with him. But for the most part, I thought he was really solid. He made, just about all the saves that he needed to make and looked good. I mean, he kept them in it, and they just, weren't able to score it all on quick.
Yeah. And Sasquatch and I think Viren, with Everly looked whole body, Everly injury, all body. Stratic, maybe they've averaged out all the places Ebbs is hurt and mid body is the average.
That is possible. I like Bryce's too. How much do we trust Dan's anatomical knowledge? He's been around the game for a while.
I feel like he would tell you he's not an expert in that, but I think he's been pretty accurate in the past.
Yeah.
All right, so as we kind of hit the end of chat, I think we'll do a 56-minute mark. We'll do a kind of a last call. Anything else in chat? Dylan, can I ask who you were waving
to? Just some folks.
Just some folks. All right. Answer. That's a good answer.
I
mentioned Dylan earlier in chat too.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I was just gonna say a group of arena workers that I know are fans.
Nice.
I don't want to name names if that gets anybody in trouble, but.
No, I gotcha. No, everybody's diligently at work. Nobody's waving to you.
Yeah.
We got some chats earlier from all the people that we saw at the game too, whether it was Dexter or Sema or Four Horsemen that all said how great it was to see us at the game. So I just wanted to share that with you since you weren't on here when we got those earlier.
Yeah, no, it's always great to see people during the game, and definitely reach out to us if you're at the game and want us to come by and say hi, or if you see us walking on the back of the press bridge, feel free to shout out at us. It's it's good publicity for us.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great for us. And always nice to meet people, and especially from chat too, be able to put a face to the name. We always enjoy that.
That's a big deal. No, it is really good, and that's a big part of the reason I'm up here now. Is to be able to do that more and to be able to interact with everybody on a non-yearly basis. And might have to still be that for Dexter, but for most other people, it get to do that hopefully more frequently.
Definitely. All right, so we got a few here on the last call. So from Lindsay, Gru gave us a chance to win, but he can't control the fact that we didn't score. I mean, that is true. The lack of Gru goal support. I think it was the first chat in here from Jessica. No Gru goal support tonight.
Do we know what they ended up with, like from an expected goals percentage? Because it does. It did feel like they had some good chances in this one. I know I already mentioned kind of some of the looks Jaden Schwartz had, but I do feel like more of the guys now are into going to the net a little bit more again. They've kind of gotten back to that, and it does feel like they've been able to generate some good chances from that. There's also some shots from a little further back that looked pretty good. Berkey had that nice one in the third period. It felt like they were able to generate some stuff, and one or two times maybe it was just kind of a bad bounce situation. I think of really two Jaden Schwartz opportunities that felt like bad bounces more than anything.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of pushed back on an earlier chat saying that Grubauer's teammates kind of let him down in this one, because I thought They gave as much effort as they could, as Viren pointing out, and I had it up, but you beat me to it, Viren. Natural Stat Trick had 2.27 expected goals for the Kraken tonight.
Good.
You usually score at least one
Yeah.
if you put up 2.27 expected goals in a game. So, that's just kind of some rough luck for them. But I thought they generated actually enough to keep it close and more often than not give your team a shot.
Right. No, I think that's a good effort for this group, particularly still kind of coming off of the road trip that they have, and the fact that they've played some of the opponents that they've had before this game. I feel like we talked a lot about this game being a real test for them to kind of see where they were at, and I felt like largely they responded pretty good to it. I know they got shut out, and that stings and it's rough, but it could have looked a lot worse than it did, and I think that's the big thing that I'll take away from it.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's going to be the big takeaway. Like maybe Ebbs is just using crutches for a WWE-esque moment where he rushes the ice, throws them to the side, and scores a breakaway goal. I would love to see that. Zoe Dundertaker, but the Jordan Eberle version, and Light Disco Dan already is the name of a WWE wrestler.
I mean, look, that's the kind of stuff the NHL needs to do if they want to continue to attract more and more viewership. I feel like those are the kind of stunts, the kind of drama, the kind of showmanship and entertainment value that this league could realistically use. Would be a little bit of stuff like that.
As I like to say, it would do numbers. And then Edward asking, why is it so bright behind you? Are they still trying to make up for last year's game versus the Rangers when the lights went out? Yeah, I mean, the lights did go out. They did keep them on this year, so that's nice. No Todd Lywicki to the rescue trying to fix the lights, but they do seem very bright behind you.
They do. I think
it's the shiny ice, right?
Yeah, I think it's just the way this camera decided to handle the contrast and stuff. That's what I was trying to kind of fiddle with when I was added
That
in.
looks nice. Yeah,
I can try to do something like that, then maybe take a step back to lower it.
I think you look pretty dark there at that
Maybe
point.
forget more of the ice. So
That's
kind of tries the white balance,
yeah.
and then but see then to focus on me.
This is the trade-off I always face too. Yeah,
the big ring that would give me my rave lighting. It was already off by the time I got up here. That's sad.
Yeah, what a
shame. I guess they
shame.
didn't win either. That's why we got to switch. I got to do some of the wins so I can have my rave
lighting on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then I mean, so I think we'll kind of call it there. Because we just had some expected goals conversation there, but I think we'll call it there, and I guess we'll finish it on this one from Stratic. Time to make a lunge for a wild card spot before Thanksgiving. That's the task at hand. They've got some easier games than this one coming up very soon with Nashville, LA, and then a bunch of California back and forth everywhere.
Yes.
So it's going to be a good stretch for the Kraken. I think it should be a very opportune stretch for them to make that lunge toward a wild card spot.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like there's still a lot of good hockey to come from this team for the rest of this month, really. And I think that's going to be positive as we're already through a quarter of their home games this season. It's really wild.
I know the home games are very front loaded this year, but we're getting to enjoy it now. I think it's good to have this long homestand. We got one more before they head back out on the road. So we're going to enjoy that. And we're going to see everybody after that game on the 20th against Nashville. Before that, though, tomorrow, Dylan, you've got your prospect chat. So check that out on the Patreon. If you sign up for a 7-day free trial, you get to check out all the cool stuff, the prospect chat, the Armchair GM stream, and the live game commentary. It's a perfect time to give it a try. So we'll see you all tomorrow night for that. And we will see you all after that Nashville game next time.